The Knicks defeat the Jazz 134 to 117. But I'm here to tell you why there are some bad habits on this New York Knicks team that could prevent them from winning the NBA title. Chris Sachi here from the Locked On Knicks Squad Show. As you can tell, I'm running things solo today because there's so much to talk about in Knicks land that I'm here to break it all down. Because this is March, baby. This is the home stretch. Can the Knicks answer the question that we're all asking ourselves all the time? Can New York win the NBA title? And once again, I'm here to say that there are some poor habits on this team that could get in the way and be a stumbling block in that elusive title for the Knicks that has escaped them for the last 50 plus years. Okay, let's get right into it. I'm going to get to the good parts. I know a win is a win. Jordan Clarkson had 27. Jalen Brunson had a hot second half to finally break out of that shooting slump that he's been in for the past couple of games. But I just have to call it like I see it, guys. The Knicks giving up 41 points. I had to look at my notes there and make sure that was correct because it's crazy to think about. 41 points to Utah in that first quarter. And one thing I really want to touch on to start, and I'll also get to some of the turnover issues that New York had. They had 7 in the first half. And the lingering Mikal Bridges issue that seemed to just kind of hover over this group at times, and certainly hovers over my mind as to where the Knicks go forward with this come playoff time, come minutes distribution, and all those fancy things. But I'm going to first start on that starting unit because this unit had a change announced today. And something that I've been thinking about for a while because Josh Hart and his three-point shooting, we've seen this become an issue in the starting lineup over the past handful of games, right? We looked at it even in Denver when the Knicks won by 30 points. New York started in a 19-7 deficit, right? Against Oklahoma City, New York was trailing by 13 at halftime. This Knicks team has not gotten off to hot starts whatsoever this season, and especially recently after the break. And Josh Hart and his lack of shooting was one of my proposed issues that might have come up for New York recently. He's shooting only 23.5%. Is Josh Hart from beyond the arc since the All-Star festivities have ended? That has made it easier for teams to guard the starting 5 of New York because even in the first half, Josh Hart's never going to be a guy who's looking to put up a lot of three-point shots, like a Landry Shamet, who we saw start in this game because of the injury to Josh Hart. Kind of an accidental lineup change that I touched on previously. And here's the thing. Like I mentioned, this team is easier to guard when Josh Hart is not making his threes. And so it allows teams to clog up the lane for Brunson. I think that's why we saw him struggle with his shot recently. It allows teams to also sag off other perimeter threats like Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, whose shooting has also been up and down since that All-Star break as well. It all kind of feeds off of that, and it shows you how important Josh Hart is to this basketball team. So injuries forced the hand of Knicks coach Mike Brown. I was wondering if maybe he would make some kind of change, get Landry Shamet in there for Hart. You can still have Josh do all of his wonderful stuff off the bench. He can still close games if he's having a hot shooting night. But Landry Shamet gives you some more three-point shooting, some more spacing to allow, let's say, a Brunson and Towns pick and roll to be more successful. Maybe some Mikal Bridges dribble handoff stuff with Towns and Brunson. Maybe even allows an OG Anunoby play call to just be more efficient when Josh Hart is being replaced by Landry Shamet. Because Shamet's a guy who's not only a better three-point shooter by accuracy, but more willing to take threes. He's going to stretch out the defense a little bit, right? So that wasn't the issue at all. Like I mentioned, 41 points. Again, I got to double check my sheet down here to make sure that number's correct. The Knicks did not start the game well at all, which makes me think that there might be something else behind the scenes, not just Josh's three-point shooting being a so-called scapegoat in this situation, but perhaps something else going on. Maybe the Knicks aren't as sharp as they should be mentally, especially on this road trip. While the Big East tournament is about to start, and the Knicks have been away from Madison Square Garden since last week around this time, it's just harder to come out hot, especially in Utah, where the altitude could get you a little bit. Not as bad as Denver, but it can affect you. So I'm giving the Knicks a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here, but I equate it to a little bit of storytelling, right? So you see my banana ball stuff all around me here. We had one of our pitchers who was a great pitcher, really strong, but he always seemed to struggle with the bananas in the first innings. He would give up these 4 or 5 run first innings, and then he would be fine the rest of the night. And he had to learn to prepare differently because it had nothing to do with his ability, nothing to do with his talent. He just wasn't. He had to change his routine to be stronger to start the game instead of maybe taking a little bit more time to get ready and focus and be strong throughout the night as a pitcher. So I thought that maybe the Knicks have some of that going on, even with this new starting lineup that had some more shooting. And I know I'm honing that point a lot, but let's face it, folks, spacing and pacing are so important in the modern NBA. And what Mike Brown has been sold to us as Knicks fans is bringing more of that to New York this season. So been interested to see that his hand has not been forced to make that decision to bench Josh Hart from the starting 5 in favor of Landry until today due to injury. So again, I'm taking the shooting out of it now, though, and talking about the defense, which was atrocious in the first quarter. This Utah Jazz team had fresher legs. They had more fun on the basketball court in the first quarter and just looked like a sharper team. The Jazz in this game started 11 of 13 from beyond the arc. I mean, can you believe that? That's one of the hottest starts of any NBA team this season in any game. So that was shocking. New York did not look ready, okay? So that's bad habit, all number one. I know I went on that tangent a long time, but the Knicks have to start these games better. They will not have the benefit of the doubt of facing this inferior Jazz team who is not necessarily incentivized to win right now in the front office as well in the second half. So, yes, the Knicks overcame and won the game, and a win is a win. I understand that. Once again, I'll get to the positives closer to the end of the show, closer to that 30-minute mark. So don't you worry. I will. Fans out there who are thinking I'm crazy talking about this as if it is a loss, I do want to let you know I will take the foot off the gas pedal. I will calm down, and I will get to the good stuff, like Jordan Clarkson's 27 points. Karl Anthony Towns, another strong night where he looked like he was ready to dominate down low, and OG Anunoby shooting the ball better, right? So there are good things, but another bad habit, and it's really, again, maybe bad habit's the wrong word, but even though the Knicks had a raucous second half where everyone seemed to share the sugar, and we had 4 Knicks reach 20 points tonight, Mikal Bridges did not seem to be invited to that party. And this is something I've been concerned about for a little while about Mikal because, and I've said it multiple times, that Mikal Bridges' 600-plus game streak played in the NBA consecutively is amazing. It's hard to fathom. When was the last time you worked 619 straight days? I know it's not days in a row and all that, but I don't know if there's anyone out there who's done that in the NBA, and it's by far the longest streak, now surpassing Harrison Barnes. His streak was at 348-ish until he missed a game. So Bridges is the unquestioned king at 600-plus games played straight. It's an unbelievable mark, but it has taken its toll on the young man for a couple of different things. First of all, Mikal's last 3 games, I'm going to just go game by game here, right? So Sunday against the Lakers, 27 minutes, he goes scoreless. The next night against the Clippers, 26 minutes, only has 7 points, and his efficiency on both the three-point arc and throughout the night was under 40%. And then tonight, just 5 points under 20, in the 20% in terms of his efficiency from the field and the three-point arc. So that's been a problem. Seeing him, and I'm reading, I like to decipher things, right? I like to look at press conferences, look at answers and quotes in the media to try and decipher, okay, are my thoughts crazy? Or are the players and the coaches and some prominent media members that I trust, are they on this too? And I just read an article about Mikal Bridges, because he's someone that I'm just going to throw my fandom in here a bit. I root for the guy. I think there's been a lot of unfair criticism about the 5 first-round picks and about the whole Mikal Bridges situation. I think he's a quieter, passive guy. He seems to be very relaxed. And so he's not someone who necessarily has Knicks fans have fallen in love with yet. Now, let's not forget that he was amazing in last year's Eastern Conference Finals run, right? Got the steal against the Celtics to finish the comeback in Game 1 in Boston last year. So, amazing. Like, I think that's part of why I love him too, is when push came to shove last year in the biggest moments, he was awesome in the playoffs. And that's why I'm probably being critical here, because I know the highs, the ceiling of how he can play is just a phenomenal two-way force for the Knicks. But at the end of the day, and you look at 25 points against the Spurs just a week or two ago. So he's very, very capable, right? So the problem is that he's not been productive at all in these past 3 games. And I just want to also not even just hunker down on the 3 games and be critical of this stretch, but also just in general. You look at the whole season, Mikal Bridges, he's averaging his fewest points and shot attempts since he was with Phoenix in 2021, 2022, right? So ever since he's become a prominent player in Brooklyn and now here, having a larger role, theoretically, this is actually his season where he's gotten the fewest amount. So I know, I'm sorry. I mentioned the press conference stuff and then didn't really get back to it, but I will right now. So he was telling the media in summation here that he's not worried about his confidence. He's not worried about his lack. He says it's not an aggressiveness thing. What Mikal Bridges mentioned was that sometimes he just doesn't get the ball. He said that a couple of times. And then Jalen Brunson, when asked about Mikal Bridges, said, well, he's out there, so we just got to have him be who he's got to be. So when I hear Jalen Brunson say, oh, well, he's out there, maybe there's something going on. If you play 600-plus straight games, you're not going to be all the way healthy every single night. And so maybe he's got something going on that can heal its way come playoff time. And maybe he just gets a day here one of these days, a day off, just to give him a chance to get back on his feet and breathe a little better. But again, I'm talking a lot about Mikal Bridges here, but I want to hone in on this one play. The Knicks were trailing still, 85-79, about midway through the third quarter. And there was a loose ball rebound after a Jazz missed 3. It was off the rim and bouncing towards the Knicks bench on the far sideline towards the corner. And Bridges was the closest guy to it. He was going after the ball, but not at 100%. And here in swoops Ace Bailey, getting the rebound and kicking it back out. Now, the Knicks, there was no harm of a foul. The Knicks ended up getting a steal on that free possession from Utah. And Karl Anthony Towns had a dunk from a really nice pass from Jose Alvarado. But just looking at that play, again, I'm a fan with you guys, right? I watch these games as a fan as well as someone who's blessed enough to talk Knicks with you. And that's why this is such a two-way street. That's why I love talking to everybody else about the Knicks, because we're all fans. We all are very passionate about this team. And I'm watching this game, and when I see him not get that loose ball rebound, I'm just he's driving me nuts. It's driving me crazy not seeing that effort out of him. And I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because he was a great playoff player last year. And he's played a million games in a row, right? But it's driving me nuts. And then he missed back-to-back shots a couple of possessions later. Both mid-range looks on the corner, on the elbow, I should say. That's his bread and butter, and he missed both of those. And that was just driving me crazy. I mean, just because my standard to him is so high, I just couldn't believe what was going on, right? So, I want to give a little analogy here before I stop harping on Mikal. He reminds me of those people you have in your life, and I hope this analogy makes sense as we're breaking down a Knicks 134-117 win over the Utah Jazz. But as you can see in the YouTube title and the podcast title, there are some bad habits that I'm going through. Talked about the turnovers a little bit, 7 first-half turnovers for the Knicks. Also talked about the 41 points New York gave up in the first quarter. And then I will get to the positive later. Don't you worry about that. But he's like one of those people you have in your life that sometimes you're at odds with. Then, I'm starting to make some progress with this person. And then something happens and it reminds you why you may not always get along. You'll be cordial, you'll be professional, whatever you need to be, but you're not going to be best friends with everybody. And, Mikal, again, he has the 20-plus point performance against San Antonio. I feel fired up, I feel great, and then he drops 3 duds in a row. And I'm like, man, like, when are we going to click? It's like that person in your life, whether it's a coworker, a friend, a relative. I think relative is the best way to relate this. When are we really going to click? When are we just going to see eye to eye and be in lockstep? So hope you understand the cheesy analogy. I used the banana ball analogy earlier. I used this analogy just now. Bridges going after that, not going after that loose rebound. It reminds me of like an outfielder in baseball who the ball gets by him, it's rolling to the warning track into the wall, and he's not giving it 100%, and batters are taking extra bases because of it. It just drove me nuts. So those are the 2 things I really wanted to harp on in terms of the concerning stuff. Again, the Knicks won the game tonight. So I don't want to drive you nuts here. I don't want to be all negative. And I do want you to tune in to the last point I make at the end of the show, because it is about you, the fans, looking forward in this broader picture of the Knicks title chase, right? It is about you, okay? But here's the thing that I do want to say, right? I talked about the turnovers, the bad defense, and the Bridges situation. Those are my 3 main bad habits. Now I do want to get to some encouraging things, which kind of come off the heels of the bad habits. So I want you to understand that these things were good, but also in the context of facing the Utah Jazz, a team that has been struggling all season and is looking forward already to the NBA draft, right? And as a Knicks fan, I've seen this many a time back in the 2010s and the 2000s. So I know how you feel. I'm here for you. So Jordan Clarkson, again, I love a good press conference. I love a good interview because it gets me thinking about these things and gets me tapped into what's going on. And Clarkson had a great quote talking to Bill Pito on MSG Network after the game. Again, Clarkson, we're going to go over him in a minute. The 27 points, the awesome night, return to Utah, former 6th man of the year for the Jazz. And he had it going tonight back in his old building. But Clarkson said at the half, when the Knicks were trailing, that they had a good halftime, they got on each other, and they figured a lot of things out. And that's encouraging stuff. Now, all the bad habits from the first half, should the Knicks have been trailing at halftime? Probably not. But to see Clarkson talk about a productive halftime, he didn't specify if it's player. It seems more like players rather than coaching staff getting on each other. But at the end of the day, that is good to see that the Knicks had a good halftime and were able to fuel themselves out of this thing and eventually come back. And that comeback did not happen, boom, right after the halftime. There were some things that went down before that, right? So, I just talked about the Knicks, cut it to within 4, but they're still trailing 90-86 late in the third quarter. So until the end of the third quarter, into the fourth, where the Knicks took the lead for good, this game was not necessarily looking good. I mean, Utah shot phenomenally from 3 all night, and the 3-point defense is something that the Knicks have been struggling with for the past 2 years. And the Utah shot 50% from the 3-point line, 18 for 36. So, sorry, snuck in another bad habit there. 3-point defense, when we go forward on Locked On Knicks and the family of shows here, I want everyone to focus on, because that's what I'm worried about. But I did want to touch on the Jordan Clarkson thing. I mean, 27 points. The fact that he came to New York and sacrificed and left Utah, where he also said in his postgame that he had a house. He still has a house in Utah. That's where his family resides. So for him to sacrifice that and come to the Knicks, I actually met, this is a quick aside, I promise to get back to the goods here. I met Jordan Clarkson at a Savannah Bananas game in September at Yankee Stadium. He was sitting next to Karl Anthony Towns. Very quick, I said, hey guys, I love you. Big Knicks fan. Thank you for being here. And I told Jordan Clarkson, I said, thank you for coming here. And pretty much insinuating, hey, this guy sacrificed his where he lives. He sacrificed a long-term contract, perhaps, some money perhaps left on the table to come and play for the Knicks. And tonight, I want to give credit to Rob Perez on Twitter when I was doing my research for the show. He made a good point. He's a big Knicks fan and just active Twitter guy. This is the Jordan Clarkson tonight that we were sold, that we expected to come into the Garden and come to play for the Knicks. A microwave scorer, a guy who, on a night where the Knicks offense looked pretty bogged down in the first half and really throughout most of the game, he came in with an instant spark. And one thing that I also saw when looking on Twitter is someone said, man, Jordan Clarkson is playing extremely hard. And that was true. This is a guy who was perhaps rejuvenated by the video tribute that they aired for him on the board. Perhaps he was more comfortable in his old digs, played for 5.5 years with the Utah Jazz, right? Again, won the Sixth Man of the Year there a couple of seasons prior. And man, did he seize his opportunity. And that's an encouraging sign, not just for tonight, but now that the Knicks, I mentioned it before, the Miles McBride situation, he might come back for the playoffs, he might not come back at all. There has been an absence of some scoring off the bench, some punch. Alvarado, Shamet, they can make some threes, especially Shamet. They're great point of attack defenders. You love what they have to offer. But Clarkson coming back to form might be a huge revelation for the Knicks. So his 27 points is a huge plus sign, right? Another guard, I just mentioned him, I'm gonna highlight him now, is Jose Alvarado, a guy who was scoreless in the past 2 games for New York. Scoreless against the LA Lakers, scoreless against the LA Clippers. Don't know what's going on with him in the Los Angeles air. But again, he didn't do anything crazy tonight. There was nothing off the page for Jose Alvarado, the Queens, New York native, that made you say, wow. 15 minutes tonight, 4 points. But again, the fact that he racked up 7 assists and 2 steals is something that this Knicks team badly needed in those Los Angeles games that they frankly didn't get. And he had a really nice pass up the floor to Karl-Anthony Towns. And so having him back into form might be a good sign as well. And even though there might not be enough minutes to go around for someone like Clarkson and for someone like Jose Alvarado, the fact that you have 2 of those guys that give you signs of life tonight, really good sign for New York. One thing I do want to touch on as well, in terms of the positives. You guys will notice I like to be a positive guy. I think a win is a win, and New York also won this game pretty handily, 134-117. So I want to be positive. One thing that I really loved about New York is the amount of assists tonight. 37 assists in this ballgame. A comparable number to what they had in Denver when they crushed the Nuggets on the road last Friday. So this Knicks team has seemed to share the ball a lot better over the past couple weeks. And even in the recent losses, the Knicks have shown a willingness to at least share the ball. So that's a good sign. And speaking of the assists, Karl-Anthony Towns, back-to-back nights where he's had 7 assists. He's somebody who has always shown a good aptitude to pass. And what's really been amazing, and I think the Towns thing is just, boy, excuse me. Oh, it's got me chuckling, this Karl-Anthony Towns situation. Excuse me for that. What really is nice about his situation is that he's such a big guy. He's 7 feet tall. He's such a, he's not the most graceful player, and the microscope, I should say, is always on him. He's amongst the league leaders in offensive fouls. He's not a perfect player, but his strengths are some of the best in the league. His ability to score, his ability to be a freight train running full speed is great. And so for him to now, I think ever since the conversation with Shaq on Inside the NBA, where Shaq was really pushing him, right? Shaq was trying to get him to play better and play stronger and remind him that he needs to be almost a number 1 for the Knicks to win the title. I think that's really pushed Karl-Anthony Towns in a positive direction to motivate him, because ever since then he's been great. 35 the other night against the Clippers, and tonight Karl-Anthony Towns, once again, 7 assists once again, also 21 points, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, and 8 of 13 overall. So phenomenal stuff out of Towns tonight. Another good sign. You talk about Towns being close to number 1. The captain was back in the second half. Jalen Brunson struggled in the first half, went 1 for 8 from the field. His shot looked off. He missed a couple shots short, and frankly, wasn't very positive for this Knicks team. And his plus-minus on the night was a -3. When you look at guys like Towns, was a +20, OG +11, Shamet +21, Alvarado a +19. So it just goes to show you that it's hard to have a plus-minus number when you beat a team 134-117. But Brunson, he came back. The fact that he finishes the night 7 for 16, which means he also made his first 2 shots after the halftime break, is a big sign. Because a lot of the time in the NBA, you are what your best player is up to, especially with the way this Knicks offense is structured. It revolves a lot around Brunson making some tough shots. So that was a good sign. So, yes, the title of the video is Concerning Stuff for the Knicks Tonight. And I want to also, I know this is a game recap podcast that also encapsulates everything about New York. Because those bad habits I mentioned off the top are things that can linger. And some things we have to look forward to. Well, I don't know if we're going to look forward to bad habits, but look ahead to in the upcoming games. And things that, as fans, we should be worried about. Again, everything, the Knicks make you really get on the couch and watch off the jump. You can't be microwaving your food at the start of the Knicks game. You can't be settling into your seat or I'm going to get home at 7:45 or a 7:30 tip and miss a little bit of the first part because they tend to struggle out of the gate. So I got to some positives, right? Some good stuff, but that I'm just sticking to the title of the video. The poor habits for the Knicks, allowing 41 first quarter points, allowing Utah to start 11 to 13 from beyond the arc, things that trouble me, that worry me. And Mikal Bridges, like I said, it's a standards thing. It's understanding how good he's been in his career and how good he's been for the Knicks. I think there's a level of play that he could be better at. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed. I want to thank everybody for watching. And now that we're getting to the end of my little demo podcast here, I want to thank everybody on Locked On, Carl, Tom, Sam. Really appreciate you guys. I've got my background coming along here. I'm actually coming at you live from the Bananas broadcast booth, so don't know how often I can be physically here. I do have an at-home studio that I'm tinkering with and getting some of this Knicks stuff up here, but please send me all the critiques you got. I tried to stay, on task of the YouTube title of the video. I was really excited to do all this, so I just want to say thank you for listening, for watching. Doing this through my phone. I got the little DJI microphone here. Just give me the critiques. I'm all for them. I'm all in on this potential opportunity. And again, someone who's got experience in WAER, working with multiple hosts and Citrus TV. Like I've done it. I love the Knicks, and yeah, we'd love to stay. We'd love to stay in touch with you guys about my future and my role. But just want to say thank you for sticking it through, watching this the whole way. Yeah, just appreciate this a ton. This is just the beginning. I feel like there's a lot here that we can learn and grow with together. So again, I'm a big believer in open feedback, open critiques. So the best way to learn, best way to grow. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate your time watching this. Let me know what you think. And until we talk again, thank you for watching.